Chapter 843. Corpse King. Yi-Ching Luo's tone was calm. The person in front of him was dressed in a bright yellow brocade robe. His face was as pale as a corpse's, and his forehead was covered with a thin layer of ice. His pale, bloodless lips parted slightly, revealing his sharp fangs. Scarlet eyes, bizarre fangs, and a cold aura emanating from his body made him look like a zombie. The 5 corpses had already been burnt to ashes. The only thing that remained was the corpse puppet that looked like it wasn't an ordinary corpse puppet. Other than the Corpse King, there shouldn't be anything else. The Corpse King cackled, revealing a cold and treacherous smile. It was you who awakened this king. As expected, it was the Zombie King Guardian. Yi-Ching Luo's heart sank, but the expression on her face didn't waver at all. Seeing that Yi-Ching Luo wasn't the least bit afraid, Corpse King squinted his scarlet eyes in interest. Your body has the smell of burning 5 corpses, you've burnt my guards. So what if it's me? Yi-Ching Luo's lips curled up slightly. Want to kill me to avenge your guard? The moment he said that, the World Group's mercenaries all held their breaths. At the other end of the Azura group, their calves and abdomen were already unbearably soft, and their hearts were greatly shocked. This was the Zombie King Guardian. The Corpse King that guarded the Tomb King. They were not on the same level as the 5 corpse puppets just now. Yi-Ching Luo was too insolent. He clearly didn't even have the strength to stand firmly, yet he still used such an arrogant tone to speak to the Corpse King. If they angered the Corpse King, what would they do if they were implicated? Yi-Ching Luo seemed as though she hadn't noticed those people's gazes as her charming eyes swirled with a sliver of dark glint. If it wasn't for me, you might not be able to wake up even if you slept for thousands of years. I'm the one who woke you up, so you should be more grateful to me. The members of the Killing God group were so nervous that their hearts almost jumped out of their mouths. He couldn't help but curse in his heart. Was there something wrong with the vice leader of this world group? Provoking the Zombie King like this, was he trying to enrage the Zombie King, causing the Zombie King to fly into a rage and directly destroy all of them? Ha 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 ha, ha ha ha, hoarse laughter burst into the ears. Everyone was so shocked that their hearts started to tremble along with the frequency of the laughter. Interesting. Interesting little girl. The Corpse King laughed. As he was laughing, his figure suddenly flashed and a gloomy cold breath whizzed towards Yi-Ching Luo's face. In a blink of an eye, King Corpse's pale face appeared right in front of Yi-Ching Luo. His speed was extremely fast, and the chilly wind that was stirred up caused everyone to shiver involuntarily. Yi-Ching Luo stared at the Corpse King, which was just inches away from her. That pair of scarlet eyes was filled with a faintly discernible ridicule. The chilly air blew on her cheeks. Yi-Ching Luo shuddered as goosebumps rose all over her body. The corpse puppet couldn't breathe, but the cold air coming from its body was unbearable to ordinary people. Yi-Ching Luo only trembled and very quickly concealed the flustered look in her eyes as she raised her head calmly. Could it be that Corpse King feels that I've said something wrong? Yes, you're absolutely right. The Corpse King nodded, his lips curling up. It's just that, before awakening this king, did you ask this king whether or not I was willing to awaken? It was a corpse puppet which was in deep sleep. Even if she asked, it wouldn't reply. The Corpse King's body leaned forward even more. That pale face was like a human skin as it stuck directly to Yi-Ching Luo. Chapter 844. Yi-Ching Luo's slender brows creased slightly as her peripheral vision glanced towards a certain direction as she pursed her pink lips tightly. I can burn your guards, I can also burn you. Ha! Ha! Corpse King slowly shifted his body as his scarlet eyes looked as though he was looking at a fool. Just based on you, a waste without any profound energy, you can burn me? That ghastly white bone was raised up high as a bone joint stretched out and pointed directly at Yi-Ching Luo's heart. Through her clothes, Yi-Ching Luo could feel a gust of cold air as it instantly enveloped her. She lowered her eyes as her long eyelashes fluttered slightly as she gazed at that piece of white bone at her heart. It seemed as though the next second, that white bone would turn into a sharp blade as it directly pierced into her heart. Corpse King had long seen that her body was in poor condition. Thinking about it, her breathing was messy, and even though her 4 limbs had been replenished with essence chi pills, it was not as powerful as before. Not to mention the powerful Corpse King. Even an ordinary person would be able to see her current condition. No profound energy. Zi Qianqian murmured these few words as her beautiful eyes suddenly lifted up and congealed towards Yi Qing Luo. Your profound energy. Right. They couldn't sense any presence of profound qi from Yi Qing Luo's body. No wonder after burning the 5 corpses, Yi Qing Luo seemed as though she had no energy to move at all. Even Yi Fengru was unable to resist. Initially they only thought that Yi Qing Luo had exhausted quite a bit of profound qi and temporarily had no energy. Yi Qing Luo, who had always been the backbone, had lost her profound qi. Which was equivalent to they were going to die in King Ling's tomb. The 10 over death god mercenaries instantly turned pale as they looked at each other in dismay. From the other party's eyes, they could see the other party's fear and terror. Following that, almost at the same time, the few mercenaries tacitly made the same action. They took the opportunity when Corpse King's attention was attracted by Yi Qing Luo to quietly get up and speedily sprinted towards the exit of the middle layer of the tomb. Just as they passed by the extremely fast huge stone, suddenly a ball of remnant shadow directly flashed past their eyes. They heard a hoarse cold voice, as though a devil from hell had come to claim their lives. Under this king's eyes, you still want to escape. Those mercenaries had no time to react at all. He only felt a bone-piercing coldness, and before he could even scream, he suddenly disappeared in front of everyone. A few Azura group uniforms fell to the ground. As if they were touched by the 5 corpses, they were instantly killed, not even their bones were left. The other mercenaries who also wanted to escape immediately knelt on the ground. Yi Qing Luo looked at the Corpse King, which disappeared in the blink of an eye and appeared several steps away, as she secretly gave a bitter smile. After losing the profound heart jade, she was indeed a cripple. He couldn't even see through the zombie king's movements. This bitter smile froze at the corner of his mouth when he saw the Corpse King slowly turn around. The undead king raised its 2 skeletal arms without any concealment, and the eerie white bones were being covered with a layer of human skin at a speed visible to the naked eye, gradually forming a hand with skin and flesh. Her skin was fair, slender, and glowed with a sparkling luster. Everyone's expression changed drastically. This Corpse King could also fuse with humans, turning the human body into nutrients for his own body. Following this, the Corpse King seemed to be extremely satisfied with his own pair of hands, as he looked back and forth for a long time, as the red glow beneath his eyes flashed, as though blood was flowing. Everyone felt a chill down their spines. The Corpse King still didn't intend to give up. Did he want to treat all of them as food? While the Death God mercenary group was on tenterhooks, they saw the Corpse King's gaze, firmly falling onto Yi Qing Luo. Chapter 845. Saying that, Corpse King's figure swayed as it speedily closed in on Yi Qing Luo. A pair of squinted scarlet eyes were filled with evil and maniacal malevolent laughter. Its 5 fingers opened wide as it directly locked onto Yi Qing Luo's neck. Get lost. A deep roar was heard, and immediately following that was a sword wave which was suffused with blue light, wave after wave. Corpse King's reaction was swift as it turned around and raised both its arms as its sleeves fluttered, setting off a strong cold current which covered the sword wave which was coming towards it. 2 gushes of energy collided. In a split second, the entire tomb started to crack. Following that, they saw Long Yunzhan holding his long sword as he speedily leapt to Yi Qing Luo's side, pulling her into his embrace with one hand. With a leap, he speedily retreated to Shiju's side. The world group's mercenaries regained their senses as they flew up and leapt in front of Corpse King as they cooperated with one another to block Corpse King's attack. Be careful. You're not its match. Yiqing Luo's heart trembled when she saw that as she raised her voice and howled loudly. After that howl, she leaned against the rock wall weakly as she laid limply. Long Yunzhan caught hold of her just in time. Yiqing Luo raised her hand and grabbed Long Yunzhan's lapel as her slender brows creased tightly as her charming eyes were filled with panic. They're not the Corpse King's match, the minute they merge with it. Qing Luo, have a good rest. Qiao Jin's roguish voice was heard. He tossed the gold coin darts as his fingertips speedily shot out several gold coin darts towards Corpse King's face. When those gold coin darts flew past Corpse King's face, it was avoided by Corpse King acutely. Following that, a continuous barrage of gold coin darts flew over. At the same time, Li Mao's agile kitten-like body climbed up the surrounding rock walls as she speedily neared Corpse King's direction. While running, she didn't forget to reveal a crafty smile towards Yiqing Luo's direction. Sister, you've always been protecting us, now, it's our turn to protect you. As she neared Corpse King, Li Mao's slender hand suddenly transformed into a huge black cat claw as it struck Corpse King's back with a palm strike. Corpse King's eyes were filled with anger as its scarlet eyes flashed with a devilish glint. It gave out a hoarse sneer, all of you are here to die, this king shall fulfill your wishes. Boom! Kitty Lee's claw landed on thin air. 5 deep claw marks appeared on the ground. The Corpse King's eyes flickered, and he turned around to grab Kitty Lee behind him. Kitty! The other mercenaries immediately rushed forward. Yes. All along, it had been Yiqing Luo who had risked her life to protect them. In order to protect everyone, he didn't even hesitate to destroy his profound heart jade. Now, it was up to them to fight in order to protect Yiqing Luo. Chapter 846. Long Yunzhan's eyelids drooped as he calmly looked at Yiqing Luo who was leaning on Shiju's back, and his vision fell onto Shiju. After looking for some time, he held his long sword and charged towards the Corpse King. The long sword sparkled with a faint blue sword glow, and those layers of scales were like water ripples, sparkling under the clear and crystalline light. A strong wave rose, directly attacking towards the Corpse King. Murderous aura filled the sky, filling the entire tomb. In the Corpse King's eyes, these 100 people were merely its food. The food's resistance was merely an appetizer. Dense murderous aura. The Corpse King's scarlet eyes were filled with interest as its hoarse voice roared. How dare you! Its brocade robe swelled up even more and its body instantly released a gush of strong cold current, directly sweeping towards its back. Long Yunzhan's expression didn't change as his figure leapt down from the rock wall, raising his long sword and waving it once again, striking towards the Corpse King. Human. Your taste and theirs are different. The Corpse King licked its pale lips, its bloodless face faintly revealing a few white bones. If I were to integrate you into my body, it would definitely be a very good nutrient. The more it said, the more the greedy glint in its scarlet eyes became brighter and brighter. It once again released its cold air, freezing the entire tomb's cold current, wantonly flying about. And the long sword in this human's hand. This sword, it had already noticed it earlier. There was a burst of magical power which enticed it to completely absorb the energy on the sword. Human, it wanted. The sword, it also wanted. The Corpse King exerted some more strength and the strong cold current instantly covered the surrounding rock walls with frost. That slippery vines and moss had already frozen into frost. Long Yunzhan was expressionless as he waved his sword and directly slashed the frost, forcefully pressing it down. The tomb shook once again and a thunderous loud sound was heard. The frost which was sealed in front of the Corpse King's face completely cracked. That long sword had already directly pressed against the Corpse King's face, just a few fingers' distance away. The Corpse King's expression was icy cold as it suddenly stretched out its slender fingers, clamping onto the long sword in front of it. The faint blue light flashed slightly, like a current, as it wrapped around the Corpse King's fingers. The Corpse King frowned. The electric current seemed to want to injure the palm it had just formed. With a sizzling sound, the electric current became even more intense. The Zombie King did not panic. He held the hilt of his sword with one hand and allowed the electric current to engulf his palm. He waved his hand slightly. It seemed like a casual wave of his hand. Long Yunjan's tall body was flung away. He flipped a few times in the air and landed 5 or 6 meters away. Long Yunjan only managed to steady himself after a long while. A mouthful of fresh blood was stuck in his throat and he nearly spat it out. He used his sword to support his own strength and forced himself to stand up. Leader! Ah, Jean! The few of them exclaimed and looked at Long Yunjan worriedly. Qiao Jin thought about it, but was stopped by Long Yunjan. Ah, Jean! Yiqing Luo's brows creased tightly as she felt a stifling feeling in her chest, making it hard for her to breathe. She had been learning by the ghost doctor's side for such a long time. She was also a medicine refiner, so she knew a few things about medicine. She naturally saw through Long Yunjan's current state. He was wounded by the Corpse King. And the injury wasn't light. If this carried on, the group of them would become the Corpse King's food sooner or later. No one would be able to escape. Long Yunjan looked at the Corpse King expressionlessly, as his breathing became heavier and heavier. As though he had sensed Yiqing Luo's calling. He raised his eyes and his azure blue pupils met directly with Yiqing Luo's eyes which were filled with worry. The corners of his mouth curled up, and a faint smile appeared on his usually cold face, as if he was comforting her. Saying 3 words. If you don't want to live alone, then work hard to open your eyes. He wanted to open his eyes, but they were as heavy as lead weights. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't open them. The more it was like this, the more intense the burning sensation in his heart became. What kind of pain was this? No, it didn't hurt. The flames that were burning his heart didn't cause him any pain. All that was left was the heat that burned his heart. Feel your profound heart, Jade. Call out to your profound heart, Jade. You can definitely do it. This is a chance. The voice became more and more indistinct. By the time Yiqing Luo listened carefully, there was no longer any sound. Profound Jade Heart. Hadn't her profound Jade Heart already shattered? And she could still call out to her profound Jade Heart. Who cares? Old Man Tsang wouldn't lie to her. Chapter 848. Profound Jade Heart. She needed the profound heart Jade. He needed a powerful profound Jade Heart. She wanted the World Group Brothers to survive together with her. This belief was shouted from the bottom of his heart over and over again. His heart, to be more precise, an extremely intense wave of heat suddenly surged from his heart, where the profound Jade Heart was being nurtured. That wave of heat rushed into her limbs and bones. It was as if he wanted to sweep through every meridian in her body. Yiqing Luo seemed to have sensed a gush of powerful energy surging towards her body continuously. She clenched her fists tightly, and the burning pain on her face gradually faded. Right at this time, Shiju's rapidly advancing body paused. Yiqing Luo felt her body being flung out. Soon after, there was the sound of a heavy object falling to the ground. This fling nearly flung the heat wave out of his body as well. Shijue. Even if Yiqing Luo didn't open her eyes, she could roughly guess. The Zombie King had set its target on her. In other words, ever since the 5 corpses died and the Zombie King was resurrected, the Zombie King's target had always been her. Although Shiju was a low-level mirage beast, it was still a cub after all. Its speed was naturally not as fast as the Corpse King. However, after fleeing for a while, it was slapped away by the zombie king on the spot. It was fine, as long as Shi Ju wasn't fused with the king corpse, there was still time. Open your eyes. Open your eyes. Qing Luo. A few hurried voices were approaching. Long Yunjian and Qiao Jin rushed in front of her. In the face of the zombie king's wave after wave of attacks, they were completely fearless. One by one, they constantly consumed their Xian Qi and brandished the weapons in their hands, wanting to leave at least a small wound on the zombie king's body. No matter what, they had to protect Yi Qing Luo, who had always been protecting them. The corpse king's pale lips sneered, not taking this group of food seriously at all. His sleeves fluttered, and an earth-shattering cold current surged. Numerous cold currents directly pressed towards Yi Qing Luo's direction. Block it. Protect the vice leader. The mercenaries roared again and again in a deafening voice filled with conviction. These young mercenaries' profound qi rose steadily as all of them stood in front of Yi Qing Luo. Bang, 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 with a few collisions, groups of mercenaries were overturned. They crashed into the surrounding rock walls. It caused the entire tomb to shake, and it was on the verge of collapsing. The corpse king's scarlet eyes coldly swept over the food, his hoarse voice sharp and ear-piercing. Come. This king will absorb all of you into his body. Those 100 over mercenaries who were sent flying onto the ground weren't intimidated by the corpse king at all, as they immediately stood up and pounced forward, trying to help Yi Qing Luo to block it. Get out of the way. Her cold voice was somewhat enchanting. Everyone was shocked when they heard this. This voice, it was Yi Qing Luo. The mercenaries' gazes immediately congealed towards Yi Qing Luo's direction. The petite body that had been flipped over by the zombie king's cold current was now floating steadily in the air. A bewitching red light enveloped her whole body. Qing Luo. Qiao Jin clutched his chest and suppressed the urge to spit out blood. He raised his head and stared at the woman who had almost crashed into the top of the cliff. Long Yunjian pressed his sword against the ground and breathed heavily. He placed a hand on Qiao Jin's shoulder and said, "Don't go over, she doesn't have a profound jade heart, how can she still float in the air? What's going on with this red glow? Without a profound jade heart, can she even display her profound qi?" The Death God mercenary group's mercenaries opened their mouths in shock. They stared dumbfoundedly at that lady who had her eyes tightly shut and her jet black hair fluttering in the wind. Chapter 849. Forehead. The mercenary's vision instantly congealed towards Yi Qing Luo's forehead. Under the red light, a few patterns faintly appeared on the lady's forehead. Like a pattern outlined by the red flowing light. Flickering, it became more and more eye-catching. Following that, under the flickering light, the pattern on the lady's forehead was completely revealed in front of everyone's eyes. That was a dark pink pattern, with a few petals lingering on the center of her forehead, like a blooming cherry blossom. Right. It was cherry blossom. Her forehead didn't have any decals at all. This must have grown out suddenly. What's going on? Don't tell me she's a demon. Otherwise, without a profound heart jade, how could she possibly float in mid-air? The Azura group's mercenaries had already started to panic, as they looked at the lady in mid-air in terror. That cherry blossom, under the red light, became more and more obvious. Long Yunjian and the others were stunned. After being together with Yi Qing Luo for such a long time, they had never seen such a pattern on her forehead. Apparently, these patterns had a great relationship with that bewitching red glow on her body. Only Yi Fengyu, after seeing that pattern, his face instantly turned pale, as his eyes faintly flashed with astonishment and disbelief. How could it be? How could it be his sister? Corpse King squinted his scarlet eyes, as he gazed at the pattern on Yi Qing Luo's forehead for some time, as he sneered, "Little lass, don't tell me that you think you can play this little trick and deceive this king. Obediently become a part of this king's body. Saying that, the corpse king's slender fingers turned into ghastly white bones, like a sharp hook, as it pressed towards Yiqing Luo. Just at this moment, the red glow on Yiqing Luo's body exploded. That cherry blossom pattern on her forehead was like an excited flame. Yiqing Luo's curly long eyelashes moved, as her tightly shut eyes suddenly opened. Boom! A loud sound was heard, as Corpse King's attacking body fell heavily onto the ground. The sound of bones breaking was ear-piercing, like a saw. Pale face, wide-open scarlet eyes, tightly stuck to the ground, as those pieces of gravel scratched his skin. No blood flowed out. Just a torn wound, revealing the ghastly white bones. This scene made the surrounding mercenaries dumbfounded. What happened? They hadn't even seen Yiqing Luo make a move and the Corpse King had mysteriously fallen onto the ground. The Corpse King on the ground let out a furious roar. He slammed the ground and was about to stand up. A powerful aura instantly broke through the dense cold air in the tomb. A powerful pressure replaced it. The King of Corpses lying on the ground was suppressed to the point that it could not resist at all. If you want my woman to become a part of your body, you'll have to see if I agree to it first. An extremely dignified voice, mellow like fine wine, lingered in everyone's ears. As the clouds parted, a man in a luxurious purple robe appeared, as if he was riding on an auspicious cloud. His black hair fluttered gracefully on his shoulders like a cloud of smoke. It made his peerless face look even more exquisite and devilish. Especially that pair of peach blossom eyes that were long and narrow like obsidian, they overflowed with a cold light as they moved about, causing one's entire body to tremble with just a glance. He is, it can't be, why is he here? I'm not dreaming, am I? What did he say earlier? Death God mercenaries drew in a breath of cold air, as they stared at that purple-robed man in disbelief. Whereas the World Group's mercenaries all heaved a sigh of relief. As long as he was here, all the problems would no longer be a problem. Chapter 850. His purple robe fluttered and in an instant, the man had already stepped to Yiqing Luo's side. Stretching out his arm, he stably brought the young lady's petite body into his embrace. Ah, Xian. Yiqing Luo was in a daze as she felt a familiar warmth and that calming sandalwood fragrance, slowly lingering around her nose. She couldn't help but took a deep breath as she buried her head in his embrace and shut her eyes. His heart, which was hanging in the air, finally calmed down. In her mind, she recalled that scene earlier. It was at that moment just now. The instant the king corpse attacked, Yiqing Luo felt her own profound jade heart's heart was like a raging inferno, surging and rushing over explosively. She could even feel a gush of powerful energy filling her limbs and bones. Just as she opened her eyes and was about to counterattack the Corpse King. Dmo Xian was like a god as he descended from the sky. It was also at that instant that her entire body's energy seemed to be stripped away as she fell from the sky. Right now, she had no way to think about where that power came from. She could only wait till they left the tomb before asking Old Man Sang. Sorry, I'm late. Dmo Xian gently caressed her pale face as his eyes were filled with tenderness. He held her slender waist tightly as the both of them slowly landed on the ground. Dmo Xian stabilized her body. His 5 fingers slowly covered Yiqing Luo's chest. A ball of profound qi was injected into her heart. I'm not by your side and you kept making me worried. Dmo Xian was helping her to reconstruct her profound jade heart while grumbling at her. It wasn't hard to hear the heavy pampering and tenderness in his words. Luckily, he came in time. From afar, he sensed the lifting of the seal. Dmo Xian rushed over and outside the tomb, he sensed Yiqing Luo's presence. He knew that the lifting of the seal this time had something to do with Yiqing Luo. Dmo Xian was naturally very clear about the dangers of Ling King's tomb. Based on Yiqing Luo and the rest's ability, it was not enough to leave the tomb alive. Especially when Yiqing Luo's profound jade heart was formed by him. The moment it shattered, he sensed it. Immediately, he panicked and rushed into the tomb without caring about anything else. Finally, he made it in time. Yiqing Luo leaned lazily in his arms as her eyes were half closed. After her body was filled with profound qi, she had finally regained some strength. My profound jade heart had some strange movements. Yiqing Luo pursed her lips and rubbed herself against Dmo Xian's embrace. I thought something had happened to you. Dmo Xian's hand, which was wrapped around her waist, pinched her waist harshly as he rebuked in anger. Who's the one who's in trouble now? Who are you worried about? Yiqing Luo knew that she was in the wrong as she replied in a soft voice, it's my fault. Luckily the Overlord rushed over in time and saved my life. I'm extremely grateful, only. Devote yourself to me. Dmo Xian raised his brows, his long and narrow eyes outlined an arc. Yiqing Luo's cheeks flushed red, thinking that other than flirting with her, this man could only flirt with her. As soon as they met, he took liberties with her. One had to know that the current location, background, and atmosphere were not suitable for flirting. The Death God mercenaries were completely dazed. This man dressed in purple robe, although they had never seen him before, but they had absolutely heard of his reputation. Purple robe, ring. A face of peerless elegance. Sparkling peach blossom eyes. All of them. Overlord, the legendary master of the Imperial Palace. The world-famous Di Zun. He and the World Group's vice-group leader were actually in such a relationship. No matter who it was, they could tell that when Dmo Xian looked at Yiqing Luo, his expression was so gentle and pampering. Chapter 851. The king corpse let out a sharp low roar as its hand on the ground gradually turned into white bones. Its scarlet eyes widened as its white bones curled up as it pounded the ground heavily. What are you? How dare you treat this king like this? This king will devour you. The atmosphere was instantly destroyed. Dmo Xian shot a cold glance over as he ridiculed with his rosy thin lips. Based on you? You dare to devour this lord? He scoffed disdainfully as he gazed at the person in his arms. Looking at her pale face, under the formation of the profound jade heart, it gradually regained its color as his expression turned gentle. The king corpse's body instantly froze on the spot. Just one look and it made a dignified king corpse so terrified that it was unable to move. This seemingly young and handsome man actually possessed such powerful strength. There weren't many people who could defeat it 1,000 years ago, not to mention 1,000 years later. The king corpse was terrified and wanted to escape. But its body seemed to be bound by an invisible force. It had no chance to move at all. Hurt my little Luo, causing her profound jade heart to shatter. Little brat, you still want to escape. Dmo Xian chuckled softly as the corners of his eyes curved into a narrow arc. Little brat. The Death God mercenaries' expressions changed as they stared aghast at the king corpse lying on the ground. The world mercenaries' mouths twitched as they stared sympathetically at the king corpse lying on the ground. In Dmo Xian's eyes, the 1,000-year king corpse was just a little brat. In the entire world, probably only Dmo Xian dared to say that. Sure enough, the king corpse's deathly pale face was immediately filled with sullen anger. Its scarlet eyes were like a poisonous snake, filled with humiliation and anger. It formed a sharp contrast with the high spirits just now. Dmo Xian retracted his gaze as he didn't continue to care about the struggling and roaring king corpse. He calmly continued to form the profound jade heart for Yiqing Luo. Time passed by in a blink of an eye. The two mercenaries held their breaths as they waited in rapt attention. Group leader, are you all right? Suddenly, in the crowd, Long Yunzhan's body, which was supporting his sword, swayed slightly and straightened up. Long Yunjian slowly shook his head, one arm supporting himself against the rock wall, his long eyelashes covering his azure blue eyes. Qiao Jin frowned slightly, feeling that he was a little strange. Just as he was about to call Bai Ming Lu to check Long Yunjian's pulse, he suddenly sensed a powerful profound energy covering the tomb. Everyone's line of sight immediately shifted to the direction where the profound qi had come from. It was Dmo Xian and Yiqing Luo. Dmo Xian's palm that was covering Yiqing Luo's chest flashed a ball of soft fluorescent light and disappeared in a flash. Yiqing Luo closed her eyes and clearly sensed a palm-sized jade-shaped qi overflowing from her heart, wrapping around her heart and automatically repairing the injuries caused by the profound jade heart's shattering. Strong profound qi spread throughout Yiqing Luo's limbs and bones at an extremely fast speed. Power, he was finally back. Yiqing Luo clenched her fist, feeling the profound qi rushing into her body as a sweet smile appeared on her lips. She raised her eyes and looked at Dmo Xian with a warm smile, just as she was about to express her thanks. But she heard Dmo Xian staring at his own hand for a long time as he sighed softly and immediately threw out a sentence, "It's still a little too small." Ah! Yiqing Luo was momentarily dazed as she blinked her eyes, not understanding the meaning behind his words. But seeing Dmo Xian waving his hand which had helped her form the profound jade heart earlier, he clicked his tongue as his eyes were filled with a teasing smile. Yiqing Luo's face flushed red with a whoosh. "Damn it! Stinky hooligan. You shouldn't flirt like this when picking up a girl." She lowered her eyes as she stared at her chest. Chapter 852. Dmo Xian narrowed his long peach blossom eyes as he gazed deeply at her protruding chest. After some time, he shook his head helplessly. Although he didn't say a word, but everything was expressed in silence. Damn it! Was he despising her flat chest? So what if she was flat chest? At least she had saved the country's fabric. The thoughts turned from embarrassment into anger as it surged in her mind. By the time she regained her senses, Yiqing Luo suddenly spat out. Save what fabric? In the modern world, she was at least a 36B. Looking at Yiqing Luo's flustered and exasperated look, Dmo Xian couldn't help but burst out laughing. This smile was peerless. Even the surrounding cold air seemed to be covered by this extremely pampering smile which was like a spring breeze. Everything in the surroundings had lost its color. Zi Qianqian's beautiful eyes were filled with disbelief. She couldn't believe that the legendary cold and emotionless, bloodthirsty overlord would be so handsome. That peerless looks, even she couldn't help but develop feelings of adoration. Based on what? Based on what? Everything belonged to Yiqing Luo. Especially when she saw the overlord looking at Yiqing Luo, that pampering and gentle gaze. Looking at the overlord's slender fingers brushing past Yiqing Luo's face. His actions were gentle, as though he was holding the most precious treasure in his hands. That jealous feeling in his heart couldn't be concealed as it surged up. Based on what Yiqing Luo's appearance, she became the main character? Everyone in the Azura group's sight was attracted by Yiqing Luo. Even the incomparably noble overlord treated Yiqing Luo with such gentleness. She was obviously the high and mighty fairy Qianqian, the #1 beauty who was praised by the men. Whereas on the other side, the world group's mercenaries were already used to this helplessness. Showing off dog food depends on the occasion. The overlord is here, shouldn't we hurry and leave this godforsaken place? After we get out of here, we will disappear on our own accord, so that you can have a good time. This was Dmo Xian's power. His appearance made these mercenaries, who were originally on tenterhooks and extremely nervous, completely put their hearts at ease. One by one, they started to tease him. From his tone, it was obvious that he was very familiar with the overlord. Nangong Firen was the most severely injured. Supported by Nangong Lin, she was barely able to stand. She stared unblinkingly at the golden couple embracing each other warmly. Something seemed to be tearing her heart apart. Dmo Xian. Di Zun. He had never expected that the World Mercenary Group and the Overlord would actually have such a relationship. Of course, Nangong Firen wouldn't take Yiqing Luo's effort for granted just because of her relationship with Dmo Xian. Yiqing Luo's ability and personality made him extremely impressed. This mysterious woman, in this world, only the miraculous Dmo Xian was worthy of her. Nangong Firen smiled bitterly and looked away. Nangong Lin frowned when she saw the expression on Nangong Firen's face. Nangong Lin could more or less guess the thoughts of her brother, who had always doted on her. His vision shifted from his brother to Yiqing Luo. A sinister and vicious intent flashed across his eyes. Just as the atmosphere was relaxing, that king corpse which was pressed onto the ground and unable to move, used all its energy to struggle. The human palm which had just been formed had gradually melted and turned into ghastly white bones. If it continued to be suppressed by this energy, its body would definitely turn into a pile of ghastly white bones. No. It would absolutely not allow its human body to turn into ugly white bones. Chapter 853. Not knowing why, King Corpse suddenly felt a burst of strong energy forcefully surging into its body. That feeling of being restrained by Dmo Xian instantly became lighter. King Corpse's scarlet eyes flashed as it didn't bother about the source of this energy as it immediately turned around and speedily ran towards the direction of King Ling's main tomb. Before it left, it didn't forget to shout angrily, "This king will absolutely not let you off." King Corpse's speed was extremely fast and in just a blink of an eye, it had already passed through the 5 corpse coffins. Dmo Xian's expression changed slightly as his brows rose slightly. It actually still has the energy to retaliate. King Corpse's ability was definitely not comparable to Dmo Xian's. Moreover, King Corpse was arrogant. If it really had the energy to struggle free from Dmo Xian, then it definitely wouldn't be pressed onto the ground forcefully, eating a mouthful of dust. How did King Corpse suddenly have the energy to struggle free from Dmo Xian's restraints? Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased tightly as she didn't have the mood to flirt with Dmo Xian anymore as she immediately grabbed his wrist and chased after King Corpse. If King Corpse still had the chance to resist, these people would be in hidden danger. Under Dmo Xian's intentional suppression, King Corpse's ability to maintain its human body had already disappeared. It would definitely fuse with more food to replenish its body's nutrients. Just as the two of them turned around and speedily chased up. Suddenly they heard overlapping cries of astonishment behind them. "Qing Luo, be careful, group leader." "What are you doing?" the few of them shouted in panic in unison. Yiqing Luo sensed something amiss and at the same time as Dmo Xian, she speedily retreated as she raised her hand to counterattack. But she saw the one who was stabbing towards her heart was dressed in black, his black hair combed neatly, azure blue eyes without any emotions, Long Yun Zhan. Yiqing Luo was astonished as she didn't manage to react in time. She only saw that faint blue glow, aiming right at her, stabbing speedily. Long Yun Zhan. Why was it him? Because of their trust towards Long Yun Zhan, Yiqing Luo and Dmo Xian, who had extremely strong perceptive senses, didn't discover the abnormality behind them. When they saw that the other party was Long Yun Zhan, the both of them were stunned. However, it was this momentary daze that caused the two of them to react. They wanted to dodge, but it was too late. Qing Luo. Sister. Just as the long sword was about to pierce into Yiqing Luo's heart, 2 figures had already sped over. Only the sound of a sword piercing into flesh could be heard, and a petite figure limply hung down. Xiao Yi. It was Yan Xiao Yi, the moment they realized that Long Yun Zhan had launched an attack towards Yiqing Luo. Yan Xiao Yi and Kitty Li almost leapt up at the same time, blocking in front of Yi Qing Luo. At the last moment, Yan Xiaoyi pushed Kitty Li away. He forcefully took the blow. Yi Qing Luo's heart twitched fiercely as her eyes widened, looking at that petite figure blocking in front of her. Long Yunzhan's expression did not change. Seeing that he had stabbed the wrong person, he did not hesitate to pull out his sword. Blood splattered on the ground. Yi Qing Luo's entire body was trembling, as she was only in time to hug the fallen Yan Xiaoyi. You're fine. Yan Xiaoyi pinched herself in pain. Her pretty face was pale without any color of blood. That pair of eyes, which were usually lively, seemed dull and lifeless. Kitty Li, who was pushed away, stabilized her footsteps as she turned her head to see Yan Xiaoyi weakly closing her eyes. As she stared at Long Yunzhan, her eyes were filled with rage. Joining Devil Class, joining the World Group, was all because of Yi Qing Luo. Towards this Long Yunzhan, she didn't have any deep feelings. Not comparable to Yi Qing Luo, not comparable to Yan Xiaoyi and the others' feelings towards Long Yunzhan. Chapter 854. However, Long Yunzhan acted as if he didn't hear anything. He held on to the blue sword that was dripping with blood as his body swayed slightly. His expressionless face was still devoid of emotion. Even when he saw Kitty Li's claws grabbing at him, he still stood there indifferently. His azure blue eyes did not even blink once. Instead, she slightly raised her neck and stared straight at Kitty Li. Yi Qing Luo carried Yan Xiaoyi as her brows creased as she looked at Long Yunzhan. She couldn't believe that Long Yunzhan would attack them. Raising his head, he saw Long Yunzhan raising his head like he was waiting for death. Yi Qing Luo's brows creased tightly as she vaguely sensed something strange. Kitty, stop. The black cat claw that was about to land on Long Yunzhan's body stopped. The strength of the cat's paw was extremely great. After it was intercepted, it set off a huge gust of wind that blew Long Yunzhan's hair. His azure blue eyes were still without the slightest ripple. He was as cold and indifferent as ever. But no matter how Yi Qing Luo looked at it, she felt that something was amiss. Sister. Why did you stop me? Kitty Li clenched her cat claw tightly and retracted her hand. The black cat claw had already transformed back into a slender human wrist. She pointed at Long Yunzhan and said angrily, "This person betrayed us. Let me kill him to avenge Sister Xiaoyi. If I kill him, will Xiaoyi wake up?" Yi Qing Luo pursed her lips tightly. Seeing that she managed to persuade Kitty Li, she lowered her eyes and looked at the pale Yan Xiaoyi in her arms. Yan Xiaoyi's eyes were closed and she was in a coma. Her voice was a little hoarse and choked. The long sword is poisoned. Xiaoyi is poisoned. The moment he said this, the mercenaries' faces turned ashen as they stared at Long Yunzhan in astonishment. At this moment, no one could believe it. His guild leader had actually attacked his own people. And he even used such a vicious method. The sword was poisoned. Just by looking at Yi Qing Luo's expression, she knew that this kind of poison was something that even she could not cure. Even Yi Qing Luo was unable to detoxify this poison, so it was obvious how dangerous this poison was. Yes, the sword was poisoned. Moreover, she had to return to the academy to seek help from the ghost doctor for this poison. With her ability, it was impossible for her to refine the antidote. Looking at Yan Xiaoyi, who had already been corroded by the poison, her entire face was pale and she was in a coma. Yi Qing Luo's heart was in pain. Kitty Li's charming face turned frosty, her usual loveliness was nowhere to be seen. She turned her head and glared fiercely at Long Yunzhan. "Hand over the antidote." Long Yunzhan acted like he didn't hear anything. His eyes were empty as he looked forward. He stood on the spot without moving. Like a puppet that had lost its soul, it was extremely strange. "Hey! I'm asking you a question. Do you really think we can't bear to kill you?" I'm telling you. I don't have any feelings of going through thick and thin with you. Kitty Lee roared fiercely, her hair standing on end. Kitty. Yiqing Luo calmly said as her hand caressed Yan Xiaoyi's pale and icy cold forehead, stop shouting, he can't hear you. You can't hear me. Kitty Lee frowned, not understanding the deeper meaning of this sentence. Corpse worm. Corpse worm. Suddenly, a scream of terror was heard from the Azura group's side. Nangong Lin jumped up as she stared at the row of densely packed corpse worms which kept charging towards Yiqing Luo's direction. She couldn't help but shriek as she kept on jumping into Yi Fengru's arms. Yan Xiaoyi's fresh blood had attracted that wave of corpse worms in King Ling's tomb. Numerous corpse worms smelled the fresh blood as they surged over. It made numerous mercenaries' scalps go numb. Even the world group's side had a little restlessness. Chapter 855. Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased tightly as her stunning face was covered with a layer of frost. She was carrying Yan Xiaoyi in her arms. Yan Xiaoyi's wound was too deep and because of the poison, Yiqing Luo couldn't help her stop the bleeding. Otherwise, it would be easy to seal the poison in Yan Xiaoyi's body. The wound was too deep and she couldn't move it, otherwise it would cause a hemorrhage. Facing the onslaught of the corpse worms, Yiqing Luo could only choose to face it head-on. Her slender palm flipped as she was about to release her profound qi. Suddenly, a majestic imposing manner pierced through the air and brushed past Yiqing Luo's side. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. She heard a sharp wind sound and saw the group of at least 300 to 400 over corpse worms in front of her had stopped their surging momentum. In an instant, those corpse worms turned into pieces of debris, not a single one was left. The strong force made everyone raise their eyebrows. That peerless man had an icy cold face as he stood behind Yiqing Luo. The strong wind blew his luxurious purple robe as his black hair swayed along with it. It was Dmo Xian. Such a powerful overlord. Just a lift of his hand and he was able to exterminate these corpse worms which they were helpless against. Ah Xian. Yiqing Luo glanced over and when her gaze fell onto Dmo Xian, that frosty and unyielding little face instantly collapsed. Ah Xian. Her expression was helpless as her voice choked. Xian, I don't have the antidote for the purple poppy grass. Xiao Yi can't wait till we leave the Ling King's tomb. Purple poppy grass. This was one of the top 5 poisonous grass in Nirvana realm. Everyone's expression changed as they all congealed towards Long Yunzhan's direction. He actually used such a poisonous grass. He wanted to take Yiqing Luo's life with one sword. I can wait. Dmo Xian nodded his head vigorously. He walked over and half-squatted beside Yiqing Luo. His slender fingers moved the profound dragon ring as he took out a medicinal pill and stuffed it directly into Yan Xiaoyi's mouth. His palm flipped and a burst of profound qi was released from his palm, pushing the medicinal pill into Yan Xiaoyi's body. This is... Yiqing Luo could obviously see that after the pill entered, Yan Xiaoyi's greenish lips gradually turned pale white, and her weak breathing, which was so weak that it could not be heard, also gradually eased up. Soul return pill. Dmo Xian retracted his hand and placed it on Yiqing Luo's delicate shoulder. Soul returning pill. It was a legendary pill. As long as a human was still breathing, he would be able to preserve his life after taking the soul returning pill. It could be said that it was a rare pill that he had only heard of, but had never seen. She did not expect Dmo Xian to take it out just like that. It gave people the feeling that this soul recovery pill was nothing more than a low-grade medicinal pill that could be found anywhere. Ah Xian, thank you. Yiqing Luo pursed her lips, her heart was filled with gratitude. Dmo Xian didn't hesitate to take out such a precious elixir because of her. How could she repay what she owed him? Giving yourself to me for a lifetime is the best way to repay me. As though he had seen through Yiqing Luo's inner thoughts, he bent down and leaned close to her ear. His voice was low and hoarse. Yiqing Luo's curly long lashes blinked, bringing with it some moisture. All right, the soul-returning pill can only preserve her life. If you want her to live on, it's best to get rid of the poison as soon as possible. Dmo Xian rubbed her soft fine hair. Now, you have more important things to do. Yiqing Luo pursed her pink lips tightly, as her petite figure, which was leaning in Dmo Xian's arms, trembled slightly. She stared at the pale-faced Yan Xiaoyi in her arms, suppressing the dull pain in her heart, as she took a deep breath. That's right, she had more important things to settle. She needed to bring her brothers out of King Ling's tomb as soon as possible. She needed to look for Ghost Doctor to cure Xiaoyi. Chapter 856. Ah, Jean. Yiqing Luo called out. Her voice was soft and gentle, without any hint of complaint. Long Yunjian was still standing at his original spot with an expressionless face, turning a deaf ear to Yiqing Luo's calls. Yiqing Luo got up slowly. Kitty Li immediately squatted down and supported Yan Xiaoyi. Yiqing Luo slowly walked towards Long Yunjian's direction. As her eyes squinted, her emotions were as calm as usual. Ah, Jean. She shouted again. In just a few steps, he was already within 3 steps of Long Yunjian. Everyone's hearts were lifted as they looked at Long Yunjian nervously. She really couldn't understand. Long Yunjian wanted to kill her, so why did she still take the initiative to walk in front of Long Yunjian? Could it be that he still had extravagant hopes for Long Yunjian? But at this moment, no one opened their mouths to interrupt Yiqing Luo's actions. Ah, Jean, I believe in you. Those words were spoken softly, like pearls falling onto a plate, clear and melodious. Long Yunjian's body trembled slightly. His azure blue pupils expanded slightly, deeply reflecting Yiqing Luo's face. A wisp of faintly discernible black mist flashed across the azure eyes. Black gas. Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes as her lips curled into an extremely shallow cold arc. Her guess was right. The reason why Long Yunjian would suddenly attack her, dark forces. Dark rats that only know how to hide in the dark. If you really have the ability, come out and get in front of me. You only know how to play tricks in the dark. You deserve to be expelled by the Nirvana realm. Her voice was not loud, but it was definitely not soft either. Every single word was spat out clearly. Like a faint echo, it reverberated in the empty tunnel. Dark forces. The mercenaries of the Killing God group looked at each other, not knowing what was going on. The mercenaries of the World group were first stunned before they exclaimed, "Vice leader, you mean?" Leader he. Yiqing Luo's half-squinted eyes were sharp and penetrating as she swept past the surrounding enemies who could conceal themselves. Yes, Ah Jean has been controlled by the dark forces. Yiqing Luo was almost certain from the gush of dark qi which shot out from Long Yunjian's eyes. The other hidden faction in the tomb of the Ling King was the Dark Faction. That dark force that appeared and disappeared mysteriously and continuously tricked profound practitioners into signing soul contracts. However, how could Long Yunjian be controlled by the dark forces? Wasn't everything fine before? Why all of a sudden, ha ha ha. Student Yi, you're really sharp. I did it so secretly, but you were actually able to detect it. As expected of an opponent who gives me a headache. A sharp and proud laughter echoed in the spacious tunnel of the tomb. Soon after, a graceful and gorgeous young girl in a jade-green dress walked out from the darkness. When she saw that person again, Yiqing Luo was stunned. What made Yiqing Luo astonished was not that person's identity. Instead, that person's body was emanating a black aura. The smoke-like black gas swirled around the girl in layers. In the blur, the slender figure seemed to be swallowed by the black fog in an instant. Shang. Shangguan Liuli. What's wrong with her? What is that black fog around her? The mercenaries of the world group recognized the young lady's appearance with a single glance, and all of them were frightened by the thick black chi coiling around her body. TSK TSK TSK. Shangguan Liuli tilted her head, and that exquisite face under the black fog revealed a strange and distorted look. Student Yi, are you very shocked to see me appearing in the Ling King's tomb? Yi Qing Luo's slender brows creased slightly. Not to the extent of being shocked. On the contrary. Shangguan Liuli's dark force profound yin qi was so thick which made her even more astonished. Chapter 857. Yi Qing Luo wasn't surprised that Shangguan Liuli was targeted by the dark forces. She vaguely sensed that the dark forces were attacking the people around her or those who were about to approach her. The hatred that Shangguan Liuli had for her was enough for the dark forces to make use of. However, Yi Qing Luo had not expected Shangguan Liuli to be swallowed by the dark forces so thoroughly. In order to surpass her and take her life, he did not hesitate to sell his own soul. TSK TSK TSK. You can still trust your leader when he's facing you with his sword. Should I admire your ridiculous sense of brotherhood or should I laugh at your stupidity? The corners of Shangguan Liuli's lips curled up into a cold smile. The black aura around her body grew denser and denser. Yes, I was the one who controlled your guild leader. I wanted to see you kill each other. I didn't expect you actually stopped that little girl from killing your guild leader. She clicked her tongue and said with a face full of pity, otherwise, would be able to watch the show of you killing each other. Shangguan Liuli could control Long Yunjian. She actually had the ability to control Long Yunjian. Could it be that Shangguan Liuli had not only signed a soul contract with the dark forces, but also made other deals? Bitch. I'll scratch your face. Kitty Lee angrily clenched her fists, and her hands instantly transformed into two huge black cat claws. Like a nimble cat, she slapped towards Shangguan Liuli. This bitch. How dare he make fun of them? Long Yunjian was actually obsessed with sex. If it wasn't for her elder sister stopping her, wouldn't she have become the world group's sinner and even her elder sister wouldn't like her anymore? Kitty Lee's jet black pupils suddenly flashed with a bewitching luster. In an instant, the two eyes that were like stars in the sky became extremely demonic. Her emerald eyes were sparkling and translucent, emitting a powerful killing intent. Shangguan Liuli snorted coldly. She raised her black eyes and waved her arms casually. A gust of mysterious yin qi shot out from her arm. It swept up a smoke-like black gas and eroded towards Kitty Lee's direction. Kitty! Yi Qing Luo shouted, come back. Kitty Lee was no match for Shangguan Liuli. Yi Qing Luo had once come into contact with the profound yin qi from Yi Qing Qian. It was extremely strange, as if it had its own consciousness. Yi Qing Luo could feel it clearly. The mysterious yin energy seemed to be interested in Kitty Lee. Did he want to take the opportunity to devour Kitty Lee? Yi Qing Luo's eyes turned frosty, her palms flipped and the red feather fan swiftly struck out a strong airflow. At the same time, when Kitty Lee heard Yi Qing Luo's voice, that pair of devilish eyes instantly reverted back to its normal color. Immediately after, Kitty Lee's petite body rolled in the air and stood on the rock wall like a cat. The strong airflow which Yi Qing Luo struck out collided with the profound yin qi. Rumble. Once again, the tomb shook and the mountains shook. Pieces of rubble collapsed. The surrounding rubble, due to the collision of the two forces, formed a whirlwind in the air. Yi Qing Luo flew up and stood firmly in front of Shangguan Liuli as her hands moved and once again a majestic profound qi was raised. The profound yin qi was instantly forced to retreat. Shangguan Liuli staggered as she retreated a few steps, but the smile on her face became even more strange. TSK. No wonder student Yi is so loved by the overlord. After your profound jade heart was shattered, you were still able to recover your profound jade heart in such a short period of time, and your profound chi also became so majestic. Chapter 858. Using her profound heart jade as a topic of conversation. Or did he want to drag Dmo Xian down with him? From the profound heart jade that Dmo Xian had nurtured, a profound heart jade was formed and integrated into her heart. This was indeed a type of forbidden technique. However, so what if it was a forbidden technique? Did Dmo Xian look like someone who would follow the rules? Even if the matter of him using the forbidden technique was made known to the world, Dmo Xian would not even frown. Don't forget. Nirvana Realm's #1 palace was Dmo Xian's Emperor Palace. It was known as the #1 evil palace. Would Dmo Xian care about what the secular world thought? Yiqing Luo scoffed lightly. Even if Shangguan Liuli was completely engulfed by the dark force's mysterious yin energy, it would not change the fact that she had big breasts and no brains. This mocking sneer stimulated Shangguan Liuli's nerves. The smile on her face froze and her expression instantly turned sinister as she laughed sinisterly towards Long Yunzhan, the World Group's group leader. Come, kill your companion and let me see your loyalty. Long Yunzhan, who had been standing there without moving, slowly moved his slender figure. The blue long sword in his hand slashed down towards the World Group's direction without any hesitation. Leader. The World Group's mercenaries cried out in panic, but no one dared to stop him as they could only scuttle around in all directions to avoid Long Yunzhan's attack. Long Yunzhan did not show any mercy. The speed at which he swung his sword became faster and faster. For a time, the entire tomb fell into chaos. The mercenaries of the World Group continued to flee. Shangguan Liuli was delighted to see this scene. Her eyes, which had been painted with gold powder, had already turned into a thin golden line from her smile. Ha ha ha. Interesting, interesting. Isn't the feeling of being attacked by your beloved and respected guild leader? His words had just ended when Long Yunzhan's slashing figure had already neared Yiqing Luo. He was also expressionless. The hilt of his sword shimmered as he raised his arm and chopped down. Roar! A sharp beast howl was heard and Shi Ju, who was originally flung out to protect Yiqing Luo, pounced forward once again. Even though it was a phantom beast. But when it came to human emotions, it still understood a little. It did not open its mouth to bite Long Yunzhan just because Long Yunzhan attacked its master. It roared and pounced on Long Yunzhan with its huge leopard claws, knocking him away. Long Yunzhan's body hit the rock wall. His face was expressionless, and his gaze was calm. It was as if he could not feel the pain. Shi Ju, come back. Yiqing Luo's eyes suddenly widened as she immediately opened her mouth to summon Shi Ju back. She saw that Long Yunzhan actually propped up his tottering body and directly attacked Shi Ju. His entire person was like a puppet controlled by his desires. A puppet that had completely lost its soul. Shangguan Liuli's gaze was filled with complacency as he laughed out loud. Yiqing Luo, this is the spirit of brotherhood that you're so fond of, but if you make use of it slightly, he wouldn't even know who you are. Shangguan Liuli, you will pay for your actions today. Yiqing Luo's eyes were filled with murderous intent as she clenched her fists tightly. His long, narrow, and bewitching eyes caused one's heart to tremble with fear. Disregarding Long Yunzhan's body, he forcefully controlled Long Yunzhan. Just to see them kill each other. Just to make use of Long Yunzhan, to kill her. If it wasn't for Yan Xiaoyi who helped her to block that sword, she would not be able to evade it. By then when Long Yunzhan regained his consciousness and saw this scene, how devastated would he be? Thinking of Yan Xiaoyi, the murderous intent in Yiqing Luo's eyes grew thicker. Chapter 859. Yiqing Luo didn't reply as a trace of viciousness flashed past her eyes. Her 5 fingers opened up as the red feather fan spun around her fingertips, like a leaping flame or a fiery butterfly spreading its wings. But as soon as she turned around, Yiqing Luo's figure disappeared. She appeared silently behind Shangguan Liuli. The red feather fan on her fingertips was like a raging flame as it waved out a strong profound qi. How could Shangguan Liuli's reaction keep up with Yiqing Luo? Until the profound qi neared, Shangguan Liuli still hadn't noticed it. But Shangguan Liuli wasn't terrified. On the contrary, the expression on her face was calm as though she wasn't afraid of Yiqing Luo's speed. Just as Yiqing Luo released her profound qi, it directly hit Shangguan Liuli's chest. The profound yin qi that lingered around Shangguan Liuli, under everyone's incredulous gazes, directly wrapped around Yiqing Luo. That's right, wrapped around. Like a densely packed big net, it wrapped around Yiqing Luo's arm. Apparently, Shangguan Liuli had been waiting for Yiqing Luo to fall into the trap. No matter how Yiqing Luo attacked, or how close she got to her, the profound yin qi surrounding her would engulf Yiqing Luo at the fastest speed. Looking at the profound yin qi that was like black smoke, instantly enveloping Yiqing Luo's arm, Shangguan Liuli's complacent and ruthless smile grew thicker. Yiqing Luo's expression was calm, as her narrow eyes narrowed. Boom, sound was heard from her palm, a burst of powerful energy suddenly erupted, like a tide. It actually forcefully controlled that profound yin qi in her hand. Shangguan Liuli's complacent smile instantly froze on her face. What are you trying to do? To panic. Yiqing Luo's narrow eyes were suffused with a trace of coquettish luster, her eyes were filled with ridicule and despise. Yiqing Luo, who had crossed hands with the profound yin qi, naturally understood that the profound yin qi had its own consciousness. And this consciousness was very likely to be the real mastermind who brought the profound yin qi over from the dark forces, trying to swallow her. She wanted to see if she was the one being swallowed, or the profound yin qi was controlled by her. Ever since Dmo Xian appeared and formed a new profound jade heart for her, Yiqing Luo could clearly feel that the profound jade heart in her body was different from before. As her strength grew. Previously, the profound heart jade could faintly feel that the profound heart jade's strength was not as strong as it wished. And this profound jade heart was clearly more capable of containing and absorbing the profound energy lingering within her body. Dmo Xian had specially forged a higher-grade profound jade heart for her. The child profound heart jade she formed was not her own profound heart jade. Even if his strength reached it, he would not be able to raise the level of his profound jade heart. If the profound heart jade had to rely on Dmo Xian to constantly form and upgrade. Let's not talk about whether it would affect Dmo Xian. Even if it was her, because of the profound heart jade, she would only be able to display half of her strength at most. Her profound heart jade had to be retrieved as soon as possible. Yiqing Luo's eyes darkened as she increased the strength in her hands and broke through the restraint of the profound yin qi. The feather fan in her hands pierced right into Shangguan Liuli's chest. Shangguan Liuli let out a painful scream from her throat. He felt a sharp pain in his chest, and blood immediately gushed out. She could even hear the sound of the feather fan piercing into her flesh. The surrounding profound yin qi speedily formed a protective cover, enveloping Shangguan Liuli tightly. Following that, it forcefully forced Yiqing Luo out of the protective cover. The world group leader. Shangguan Liuli cried out in terror. She had not expected that Yiqing Luo wasn't afraid of the dark force's profound yin qi. Wasn't this profound yin qi able to swallow everything in the world? To Yiqing Luo, it was totally useless. Chapter 860. Hearing Shangguan Liuli's shout, Yiqing Luo gritted her teeth and immediately withdrew the profound qi that was used to break the profound yin qi and swiftly retreated. In the next second, Long Yunzhan's sword qi had already brushed past the place where Yiqing Luo was standing earlier. Long Yunjian waved his long sword once again as the sword waves surged, with an earth-shattering force, directly charging towards Yiqing Luo. At the same time, Shangguan Liuli moved her palm, and countless black gas spun rapidly in her palm. A powerful wave suddenly erupted from his palm. Yiqing Luo's pupils constricted. Long Yunjian's participation had unknowingly become Shangguan Liuli's shield. She was bound to be restrained in this battle. Long Yunjian had already injured Yan Shaoyi. If he hurt her again, with Long Yunjian's personality, after he wakes up, I'm afraid, damn it. Shangguan Liuli actually used such a despicable method. Yiqing Luo secretly clenched her teeth as she had no choice but to dodge, speedily evading their combined attack. Qing Luo. Not knowing when, Qiao Jin had already replaced Kitty Li and was holding Yan Shaoyi in his arms. His thick palm gently caressed Yan Shaoyi's pale face, his expression extremely ugly. Especially when he saw Long Yunjian coordinating with Shangguan Liuli's attacks, striking out at Yiqing Luo, his expression turned even darker. He clenched the gold coin dart in his hand tightly as he gritted his teeth. Qing Luo, if group leader knew that you were injured because of him, he would definitely feel extremely guilty. Don't go easy on him. Qiao Jin was the clearest about Long Yunjian's feelings towards Yiqing Luo. He believed that Long Yunjian would rather sacrifice himself than to see Yiqing Luo getting hurt. Especially, he had injured her with his own hands. Yiqing Luo had been worrying about Long Yunjian, and if she only defended and not attacked, then she would be at a disadvantage and it would be easy for Shangguan Liuli to take advantage of her. The rest of the world mercenaries nodded in agreement. Under Yiqing Luo's strong request, not only could they not go up to help Yiqing Luo, they even had to maintain a certain distance from Shangguan Liuli. At this moment, he could only stand by the side and worry. The profound yin energy surrounding Shangguan Liuli devoured profound practitioners as food and turned them into her own energy source. There was a high possibility that it would devour the world group's mercenaries. Yiqing Luo naturally didn't dare to take this risk. Long Yunjian seemed to not know fatigue as he chased relentlessly. The sword waves that slashed out from his hand were also more ferocious with each wave. Suddenly, Shangguan Liuli muttered something. With her as the center, the mysterious yin qi on her body began to spin like a whirlwind. It was getting faster and faster. In the end, it surged towards Long Yunjian's body. Ah Zhan! Yiqing Luo's pupils dilated as her red feather fan flicked, like a cold glint flickering sharp blade. It shot towards Shangguan Liuli, trying to cut off the profound yin qi which was surging towards Long Yunjian. However, the profound yin qi seemed to have guessed that Yiqing Luo would do this. A wisp of mysterious yin qi seeped out from the swirling black qi, directly blocking the devouring flame fan. Ugh! With a grunt, Long Yunjian, who was releasing sword energy, suddenly stabbed his sword into the ground and stumbled to a stop. Behind him, a mass of extremely dense mysterious yin qi was seeping into his body at an extremely fast speed. Ah Zhan! Yiqing Luo was forced to retreat a few steps. That wisp of mysterious yin qi intentionally obstructed her as it kept splitting out numerous black smoke, attempting to devour her. Until the mysterious yin qi completely entered Long Yunjian's body. The black qi around Shangguan Liuli became thinner by a little. Shangguan Liuli actually dared to forcefully inject profound yin qi into Long Yunjian's body in front of her. Her charming eyes were sharp and filled with killing intent. She looked at Shangguan Liuli fiercely. I can't let you live. With a leap, the feather fan in his hand blossomed like a blazing rose at the tip of his fingers, and he slashed it horizontally towards Shangguan Liuli. Powerful profound energy covered the sky and covered the earth, enveloping Shangguan Liuli. However, in the next second, Long Yunjian, who was launching an attack towards Yiqing Luo, his figure flashed as he speedily dashed towards Shangguan Liuli. He actually didn't release the slightest bit of profound qi, using his flesh body to block this attack for Shangguan Liuli. It was obvious that Shangguan Liuli had not given up on her intention to have them kill each other. Yiqing Luo clenched her teeth as her fingertips, which were gripping tightly onto the feather fan, had already turned green. She naturally couldn't let Long Yunjian block this attack. Immediately, her feet moved and her palm flipped as she set up another protective cover, blocking in front of Long Yunjian. Immediately, her body was already close to Long Yunjian as she stretched out her hand in an attempt to hook Long Yunjian's arm. Just as she stretched out her hand, that originally expressionless Long Yunjian suddenly flashed as he speedily shifted behind Yiqing Luo. Chapter 862. Qing Luo. Be careful. When the crowd saw this, they cried out in shock. No one had expected that Long Yunjian would use his own life to lure Yiqing Luo closer, taking the chance to take action on her. No. To put it more accurately, Long Yunjian's current actions were all controlled by Shangguan Liuli. Shangguan Liuli, that bimbo princess syndrome patient, how could she possibly become so intelligent? Was it Shangguan Liuli who controlled Long Yunjian? Or was it the profound yin qi that controlled Long Yunjian? He. Shangguan Liuli gave out a sinister laugh. Because of Long Yunjian's retreat. And because Yiqing Luo went to block the momentum of the profound qi attack, she was stopped by Long Yunjian. With a swoosh sound, Yiqing Luo released that red profound light, as it shot past, striking Shangguan Liuli's body. However, Shangguan Liuli seemed as though she didn't feel any pain, as she continued to laugh maniacally. Her body flew out, as she rolled onto the ground, but she was still laughing. This scene looked extremely strange. A kind of thing called fear started to run amok in everyone's hearts. The air was filled with dust and gravel, as though it was testing everyone's patience. Kill her. Kill her. Shangguan Liuli propped up half her body, as she gave a sinister laugh as she gave the order. Long Yunjian's long sword was pressed against her neck. Unless Yiqing Luo killed Long Yunjian in reverse. Otherwise, Long Yunjian's sword would take away Yiqing Luo's head. No matter which outcome, it was the outcome that Shangguan Liuli wanted to see. Long Yunjian's arm moved, as the long sword, which was emitting a blue glow, slashed mercilessly. Ah, Jean! Yiqing Luo's eyes turned cold. At this moment, the profound yin qi in Long Yunjian's body was getting thicker and thicker. If she didn't wake Long Yunjian up, then Long Yunjian would become the profound yin qi's food. Yiqing Luo clenched her fists tightly, as her footwork was immediately displayed. Her body leaned backwards, as she avoided Long Yunjian's long sword. Perhaps this body of Long Yunjian had already formed a conditioned reflex. The instant Yiqing Luo moved, Long Yunjian's long sword also followed closely. Yiqing Luo's expression changed slightly, as she speedily raised her glower flame fan to block against the long sword. Bang! The weapons collided, stirring up a huge wave of air. The cracks on the ground had caused countless mercenaries to lose their footing. Long Yunjian was expressionless as he continued to charge forward, not minding whether his long sword would be broken by Yiqing Luo's glower flame fan. He only blindly pushed against Yiqing Luo's glower flame fan, pressing forward. Yiqing Luo retreated little by little. Damn the dark forces. It was obvious that he wanted Long Yunjian to gamble with his life. Yiqing Luo tightened her grip on the fan handle and swiftly struck out two powerful wind blades. What should I do to force the profound yin energy out of Long Yunjian's body? DMO Xian must know. Her gaze coincidentally brushed past DMO Xian, who was standing by the side. His doting gaze had been following her closely. Yiqing Luo's heart suddenly trembled. Right, she had once said that she would rely on her own efforts to stand at the pinnacle of the world, to walk side by side with Dmo Xian. She could not always rely on Dmo Xian's power. Wasn't it because Dmo Xian believed in her ability that he stood by the side and allowed her to display her abilities? How could she possibly let Dmo Xian down? Yiqing Luo's gaze instantly turned resolute, as her palms flipped and her body had already closed in on Long Yunzhan. She must first awaken Long Yunzhan, before she could deal with Shangguan Liuli. Yiqing Luo sorted out her thoughts and was just about to restrict Long Yunzhan's actions, taking the opportunity to force out the profound yin energy from his body. But unexpectedly, Long Yunzhan also moved towards the sound. Immediately he crashed into Yiqing Luo. Chapter 863. A dull, creak sound was heard. Yiqing Luo acutely sensed that her back had bumped into something. She speedily released Long Yunzhan and pushed him backwards. This force instantly made Yiqing Luo's body sink backwards. Not knowing why, that rock wall actually split open and swallowed Yiqing Luo entirely. Lil Luo, Such a huge change made Dmo Xian's calm expression congealed. He quickly rushed forward as he stretched out his hand to touch the spot where Yiqing Luo had disappeared. What his tentacles touched, other than the branded rock wall, he didn't feel anything. Overlord, Vice Group Leader he. The World Group's mercenaries behind him also rushed forward as their faces were filled with worry. Dmo Xian's face congealed as he didn't respond to their words. A pair of long and narrow eyes like obsidian quietly stared at this rock wall. After a long time, he directly raised his hand and struck out a strong palm wind, blasting towards the direction of the rock wall. A burst of earth quaked and the mountains shook as gravel shattered. But he didn't see any signs of the hole which had swallowed Yiqing Luo earlier. Dmo Xian's expression turned even darker and steely green. Yiqing Luo's body kept on rolling down as pieces of uneven gravel pricked her slender brows. After rolling for a few rounds, she finally crashed onto a piece of rock wall as her body stopped. A thick incense burner's smell instantly filled her nostrils. The surroundings were pitch black and even with Yiqing Luo's night vision, she could only see a blurry outline. She rubbed her body which was hurting from the collision as she creased her brows and sat up straight. Just as she was about to get up, she suddenly felt an inexplicable burning sensation in her heart, which instantly filled her chest. Yiqing Luo's legs turned soft as she fell onto the ground. Bursts of scorching burning feeling was even more unbearable as compared to the profound heart jade's unusual reaction, so unbearable that she couldn't endure it at all. What was going on? Dmo Xian had just helped her to form the profound heart jade. How could it possibly cause a backlash so quickly? Yiqing Luo panted heavily as her 5 fingers clasped onto her heart, wishing she could dig her heart out to relieve this pain. Lass! Don't let your imagination run wild. Just as Yiqing Luo was having this thought, an anxious voice rang in her mind. Old Man Tsang said in a deep voice, "Girl, calm your mind and maintain your rationality." Yiqing Luo's breathing was heavy as she shut her eyes tightly. Her pearly white teeth bit her tender lips tightly. Old Man Tsang, what exactly is going on? This unbearable feeling was hundreds of times more unbearable than before. She had endured all kinds of pain without batting an eyelid. She had also experienced the feeling of the place where her profound heart jade was nurtured being scorched by raging flames. But, however, he was unable to endure the pain of being torn apart by the raging flames. No, that's not right. Yiqing Luo's pupils dilated as a strange feeling surged from the bottom of her heart. No, it wasn't burning her. It wasn't tearing her apart. Instead, it was an extremely intense sensation. It seemed to be summoning her to do something. That's right. It was a reaction. It was the feeling of being summoned. After falling into this strange place, her heart felt extremely uncomfortable. It was as if a mysterious force was summoning her and inviting her to join it. Realizing this point, Yiqing Luo obviously felt that tearing pain had gradually disappeared. Yiqing Luo opened her eyes and swept a few glances in the darkness. Immediately suppressing the restlessness in her heart, she followed the direction of the summoning and groped her way forward. She didn't know how long she had walked, but the surroundings looked like a long tunnel in the middle layer, with no path in sight. Chapter 864. Gradually, Yiqing Luo seemed to see a patch of light in front. She had also sensed that the voice calling out to her in her heart had grown even stronger. There must be something on the other side that was summoning her. Yiqing Luo took a deep breath as she endured the burning sensation from her heart and headed straight towards the source of the light. Gradually, the light in front of him expanded. The thick scent of the incense burner lingered in the air. What came into view was a huge tomb. He was right. It was a tomb. It was a round stone wall with a black, transparent coffin lying quietly in the middle of the tomb. 4 black wooden tables were placed around the coffin. On top of the table, there were 4 huge incense burners, with several huge incense sticks stuck into them. Yiqing Luo recognized this fragrance. Once lit, the incense would not be extinguished even after 10,000 years. This kind of incense could only be used after the passing of the sect masters of the 4 major sections. It could be said that it was a fragrance exclusive to the 4 great sections. The rising smoke obscured the coffin. Yiqing Luo raised her eyes and looked at the top of the stone wall where a huge human totem was carved. The outline was extremely familiar. Wasn't it the Ling King totem on the stone wall leading to the bottom of the tomb? The only difference was, this was an enlarged version of the Ling King totem. Next to the totem were the 4 large words, Tomb of the Ling King, carved in flamboyant calligraphy. This was the main tomb of the Ling King. Yiqing Luo looked around in astonishment. She had not expected that under a freak combination of factors, she had fallen into the Ling King's main tomb. Was the profound heart jade guiding her to the main tomb of the Ling King? No, that's not it. The burning sensation in his heart did not subside. There seemed to be a voice calling her forward, calling her to get closer to the coffin of King Ling. Yiqing Luo's heart thumped violently. She slowly walked towards the coffin. Just as he was about to reach over the black wooden table and place his hand on the coffin, he suddenly caught sight of something. The lid of the coffin did not overlap with the coffin. It was slightly slanted, revealing a small part of the hole. Someone touched the coffin of King Ling. Could it be, other than Shangguan Liuli, there was another hidden force? That's right. If it was just Shangguan Liuli, even if she cooperated with the dark forces, she would still be devoured by the mysterious Yin Qi. It was also impossible for Shangguan Liuli to remove the traps and formations in the tomb of the Ling King. The one who entered the tomb before them was definitely not Shangguan Liuli. Who were the people from that faction? Intuition told Yiqing Luo that the truth was in the coffin lid. As this thought flashed through her mind, Yiqing Luo slammed her palm on the coffin lid and activated her profound qi. The lid of the coffin flipped over and landed on the ground, leaning against the side of the coffin. King Ling's body was not in the coffin. Not even a shadow of King Ling could be seen. There was only a black hole, a bottomless black hole. Yiqing Luo was stunned. Wasn't this the main tomb of the Ling King? When Yiqing Luo's vision was fixated on the black hole, her heart suddenly surged with a scorching arc. It was as if a flame had suddenly been ignited, wrapping around her heart. Something was calling to her. In the black hole, she could clearly feel that something was calling out to her. No matter what, she had to figure out what this thing that was continuously summoning her and inciting her profound jade heart to continuously react was. Chapter 865. After leaping down the black hole, Yiqing Luo felt a strong suction force sucking her in firmly. Immediately after that, she felt her body being flung by someone and both her feet landed on the ground as she staggered several steps forward. It was until both her hands touched the scorching rock wall before she managed to stabilize herself. It was yet another long tunnel in the cave. There weren't any disgusting slippery vines on the rock wall, nor was there any moss, only an extremely scorching and uneven rock wall. There was another tunnel below the coffin. Could it be? This was the real Ling King's main tomb. Setting up heavy defenses was really just to prevent tomb robbers or other malicious cultivators from disturbing Ling King's rest. Or there was another deeper meaning. Yiqing Luo squinted her eyes as her palm was placed over her heart, deeply feeling her heart beating intensely in ecstasy. Dmo Xian's profound jade heart was also giving off a vibration, as though it was crying out something. The feeling of being summoned grew stronger. As though it was right in front, close at hand. Yiqing Luo held on to the rock wall as she walked forward. The surroundings were pitch black, without a single bit of light. Yiqing Luo could only follow the contours of the rock wall, carefully preventing herself from making any sound. After walking for about half an incense's time, Yiqing Luo suddenly stopped in her tracks. Faintly, she heard someone's voice coming from the front. There was someone. Indeed, there was someone. Was it that group of people who had entered Ling King's tomb before them? Yiqing Luo's footsteps became even lighter as the light from the luminous pearl shone faintly in front. Speed up. If that girl is summoned over, all the hard work we have done will be wasted. This voice seemed to be urging something urgently. The person who replied had an aged voice and spoke very quickly. As they were too far apart, Yiqing Luo couldn't hear it clearly. But what made Yiqing Luo stunned was that urgent voice seemed to have heard it somewhere before. It was extremely familiar. Could it be? Or was it someone she knew? Yiqing Luo tiptoed as she quietly got closer. Yiqing Luo could hear their conversation even more clearly. Who knows why that girl would come to Ling King's tomb today? Stop talking nonsense and quickly set up the array. A series of rustling sounds could be heard, as if they were arranging the so-called formation. Soon after, an old voice sighed softly, perhaps this is fate. It didn't come early or late. I'm afraid it was summoned. Another anxious voice sounded with a hint of anger, what do you mean by destined or not? I don't believe in such things. I only know that the ones standing here right now are us. This is heaven's will. The old man didn't say anything else and began to move in silence. Perhaps it was because their attention was placed on what they wanted to do that they didn't notice that Yiqing Luo was gradually nearing them. Yiqing Luo held her breath and condensed her qi, retracted all the imposing manner on her body, and quietly hid in the dark. The luminous night pearl shone on everything here. This was a cave that was not much different from the main tomb of the Ling King. Within the gloomy and cold cave, a cold wind blew gently, and it brought along a wisp of terror that pierced the heart. Indistinctly, there was a sharp whistling sound of the wind, like the wailing of evil spirits from hell, but it was more like the attack of evil spirits, bringing with it a sense of danger and fear. On the ice-cold stone walls, there were engravings that seemed to be from ancient times. No, looking carefully, those weren't the so-called historical remains. Instead, they were totems with strange shapes. They covered the entire stone walls of the cave. Chapter 866. Those totems were either pouncing, sitting or lying down. One claw stretched out, stepping into the void, and when it raised its head to howl, it seemed as though it was stepping on thousands of beasts, domineering and disdainful. The light between the 5 claws was like a sharp blade piercing through the sky, the sharp ray was like cold steel, almost piercing one's eyes. In the dim light of the cave, it gave off an extremely ferocious yet noble and proud feeling. Savagery and nobility were perfectly unified on these beast-type totems. But what attracted Yi Qing Luo's attention the most was the huge stone sculpture in the middle of the cave's stone wall. It was also around this stone sculpture, it wasn't those tiger or leopard totem, but an extremely complicated pattern. Rather than saying it was pattern, it was more like the equinox flower. Flowers without leaves, no flowers without leaves. Moreover, these equinox flower patterns were like the Ling Ling King totem on the bottom of the tomb's stone wall, as bright as blood. It was so red that it made one feel as though the ghost bell from hell was ringing, seizing one's soul. In the middle of the flower, there was a lifelike huge beast. The huge beast opened its bloody mouth, looking extremely sinister and terrifying. Its scarlet tongue stuck out, as though it was something that could seduce one's soul, extremely terrifying. Under that huge beast, stood two figures. One stood under the huge beast, holding a luminous pearl in his hand. His figure was tall and he was dressed in a black robe, revealing the bulging muscles on his body. A black-robed old man, with a head of white hair, stood in front of the huge beast's bloody mouth, gazing deeply at that huge mouth. There was a kind of déjà vu of the stone sculpture huge beast opening its mouth, swallowing that old man into its stomach. "Elder and I, hurry up. If we delay, Lord, both of us will not have a good ending." That black-robed man who was holding the luminous pearl couldn't help but opened his mouth to urge. This voice made Yi Qing Luo quivered. Lord. It was this so-called Lord again. Who on earth was Lord? This man. His voice was deep, at least 30 to 40 years old. The tone of calling Lord. Wasn't this the protector she heard when she first entered the library pavilion's second story, the one who was addressed as Lord Protector? This protector. Who on earth was he? What was the collaboration between him and the director? After recognizing this middle-aged man, Yi Qing Luo became even more cautious. She remembered that this protector had once discussed with the headmaster to keep a close eye on her. This meant that the guardian's target, no, to be more precise, the Lord's target, was very likely to be her. At this time, if the protector saw her, in this kind of situation where she couldn't freely use her profound jade heart, wouldn't that be walking right into a trap? Most importantly, there was a high possibility that these two people were the ones who entered the Ling King's tomb before the World Group and the Azura God Group to clear the mechanisms and arrays along the way. Just the two of them had successfully reached the bottom of the tomb. They also avoided the 5 corpses' protection and the awakening of the Corpse King, which showed how powerful these two people were. It was better to observe the situation and figure out what the two of them were up to. From afar, Yi Qing Luo saw that black-robed elderly raising both his hands up high, as his palms were holding onto a piece of sparkling lustrous object. As the distance was too far, Yi Qing Luo couldn't see clearly. He only felt that the light of that thing was extremely holy. It made her heart, which kept on boiling and burning, seem to have a kind of tranquil heart. Following that, the elderly man's fingers formed a hand gesture on the item in his palms, as though he was doing something. Finally, both hands respectfully placed the item in his palms onto the huge beast's extended tongue. That thing. Yi Qing Luo saw it clearly this time round. It was a piece of jade-like object which was sparkling with a holy luster. It seemed like he wanted to use her profound heart jade to do something for the so-called master. Quick! That good-for-nothing from the Shangguan family won't amount to anything. If our trump card doesn't play a key role, that girl will definitely be summoned here. After a moment of silence, the protector anxiously urged again. As he spoke, he spread his arms impatiently and paced back and forth. Our plan can't tolerate even the slightest mistake. If that girl is really summoned, we won't be able to protect the profound heart jade. The moment the protector turned around, Yi Qing Luo clearly saw. His eyes, which were filled with anxiety, faintly flashed a wisp of black chi. That was mystic. Shady. Of chi. People from the dark forces. They were from the Dark Coalition. Yiqing Luo's pupils instantly widened as the expression on her face turned into one of astonishment. Her profound heart jade was actually taken away by the dark forces. The so-called master was from the dark forces. In that case, the headmaster had collaborated with the people from the dark forces. The other party was from the dark forces and her surroundings had always been surrounded by the dark forces energy, so that made sense. Chapter 868. The dark forces' target, other than the profound jade heart, were there other things? Otherwise, why would the dark forces send out such a large number of people to continuously sign the soul contract with the people around her? One must know that to lend profound yin qi to a cultivator, causing the cultivator to become stronger in a short period of time, this kind of forbidden technique would deplete the profound jade heart's energy. The more people who signed it, the more profound energy would be depleted. By then, it would easily cause the profound jade heart to dry up. To restore it, it would require a lot of time and effort. However, the dark forces kept using the profound yin qi, trying to take the opportunity to devour her, devour the people around her. Their motive must be related to her. While Yiqing Luo was deep in thought, the old man had already finished setting up the formation, clasped his palms together and started to release his own profound qi. The old man's hand gestures were extremely fast. Yiqing Luo had yet to see clearly, and had already changed to the next set of actions. He's using the forbidden technique. Old man Song opened his mouth solemnly, he's trying to open the seal. Seal. Could it be? What was sealed behind this huge beast totem? Lass, the thing inside, absolutely cannot let them take it away. Old man Song's voice suddenly rose, his tone was slightly anxious. His voice paused, as if he realized that his tone was not right, he immediately slowed down his tone. I can sense that the thing inside will be of great help to you. Yiqing Luo squinted her eyes suspiciously. Based on her understanding of Old Man Song's agitation was absolutely not only because he sensed how powerful the thing inside was. Perhaps he was hiding something. Old Man Song was unwilling to say, so Yiqing Luo naturally wouldn't force him to ask. Anyway, she was sure that Old Man Song would absolutely not harm her. The two of them, their abilities are unfathomable. I alone, can I really snatch it from them? To be able to be sealed in the Ling King's tomb, it must be a rare treasure. Now, Yiqing Luo had an even bolder guess. The so-called Ling King's tomb was actually not the Ling King. It was merely a pretense of Ling King, in actual fact, it was to seal the thing behind this huge beast totem. Which was what Old Man Song said, the thing that would be of great help to her. Girl, if you obtain what's inside, wanting to take back the profound heart jade that belongs to you is also very easy. Old Man Song didn't directly answer. It seemed that Old Man Song attached great importance to the sealed item. She had already come all the way here and understood that there was an even more powerful seal behind the giant beast totem. Naturally, he wouldn't give up without trying. At this time, the old man had already finished casting the forbidden technique. With a loud rumble, the giant beast totem with its bloody mouth suddenly retracted its scarlet tongue and closed its mouth. It was as if he had swallowed the profound heart jade into his stomach. Then, a crack slowly appeared in the middle of the giant beast statue. An entrance that could accommodate two people was opened. The old man's body went limp and his face was drenched in sweat. He looked like he had overexerted his profound energy. The protector easily grabbed the old man's arm and directly dragged him into the cracked entrance. He was so anxious that he didn't even check to see if there was anyone else around. Of course, they were especially confident towards their own perceptive ability. They absolutely believed that no one would be able to enter the Ling King's main tomb and discover this sealed land. After the two of them entered, Yi Qing Luo followed closely behind. Their footsteps were extremely fast, and by the time Yi Qing Luo reached the entrance, the two of them had already disappeared. Yi Qing Luo's gaze shifted to the cracked huge beast statue which only had half a head left, as she stretched out her hand to sense her profound heart jade. Chapter 869. Slender fingers with distinct joints gently held Yi Qing Luo's hand, which was stretched towards the stone-sculptured giant beast. Yi Qing Luo reflexively raised her elbow and attacked the person behind her. She had just turned her head and a comforting sandalwood scent instantly seeped into her nostrils. It made her entire being relaxed. Yi Qing Luo raised her eyes and met with a pair of sparkling peach blossom eyes. That resplendent obsidian clear eyes sparkled with jade luster. Just one look and it made one's heart ripple, sinking into this pair of eyes. The owner of this pair of soul-absorbing peach blossom eyes, that face, was peerless and peerless. Handsome like a deity, black hair and purple robe, fluttering without wind. "Ah, Xian, why are you here?" Yi Qing Luo's voice had just ended when her waist suddenly tightened. She had already been forcefully embraced by the man's broad palm. The man's sandalwood scent was getting thicker and thicker, filling the tip of her nose. His arms were getting tighter and tighter. So tight that Yi Qing Luo's waist was a little painful. "Ah, Xian." She stretched out her hand, trying to push Dmo Xian away, protesting that he was hugging too tightly. But the little hand had just landed on his body. Yi Qing Luo obviously felt. The man's tall body was trembling slightly. His head, which was pillowed beside his ear, gave out a heavy panting sound. Yi Qing Luo's heart thumped as her pupils abruptly contracted. Slowly, the expression on her face became soft. Yi Qing Luo opened her arms, wrapped around Dmo Xian's waist. "Ah, Xian, I'm fine. I'm here, you'll be fine." Dmo Xian's voice was low, hoarse and gloomy, because of nervousness and worry, slightly dry. His head rubbed against her neck, his warm breath brushed against her skin. Yi Qing Luo's skin broke out, as she shrank in Dmo Xian's arms. "Lil Luo, in future, you're not allowed to disappear in front of me for no reason." Dmo Xian tightened his arms. Because of the deep voice, his tone was extremely domineering. This time, she really didn't disappear intentionally. Who knew that the mechanism to the main tomb entrance was set on the rock wall? That is not the mechanism for the main tomb's entrance. Dmo Xian's emotions had already stabilized. He seemed to have seen through Yi Qing Luo's thoughts as his eyes dimmed slightly. He slowly straightened his body and placed an arm across her waist. "It's a little complicated here. Let's go in first. The things inside belong to you." Was it something inside again? What exactly was sealed in there? To be able to make the dark forces go through so much trouble, to the point of even using a forbidden technique and risking their lives to give Shangguan Liuli such dense mysterious yin qi, just to stop them, to delay them. Moreover, if it was really as she had guessed. If the previous four great sect masters were only using the name of the Ling King to build the Ling King's tomb just to seal this thing, from this, it could be seen that the thing sealed inside definitely possessed some sort of powerful energy. The people from the dark forces, not only did he snatch away her profound heart jade, he even injured the people around her several times. He even manipulated Long Yunzhan and played with the relationship between the two of them. How could she let the people from the underworld get their hands on this? Old Man Tsang also said that the thing sealed inside would be of great help to her. Take it out when your profound heart jade is out. The minute you take it out, the entrance will be sealed again. Dmo Xian saw Yi Qing Luo's eyes were covered with a raging battle intent, as he caressed her head and said in a warm voice. Yiqing Luo nodded heavily. Chapter 870. Dmo Xian gazed at her, gradually blending into the white light, and lowered his eyelids slightly. The flowing light in his eyes seemed to hide some deep meaning. Far away in the imperial palace, he sensed that the seal of the Ling King's tomb had been opened. And coincidentally, the profound jade heart that he had condensed within Yiqing Luo's body also produced a strange movement. At that time, he realized that it was fated that Yiqing Luo had also gone to King Ling's tomb. Dmo Xian had specially checked on Yiqing Luo's identity. Although it wasn't obvious, but Dmo Xian roughly knew that this King Ling's tomb would definitely summon Yiqing Luo, who had stepped into the tomb. Under the situation where the seal was activated by someone other than Yiqing Luo, if Yiqing Luo answered the summons and went to the sealed grounds, she would definitely be injured. When he sensed the restlessness of his profound jade heart, he rushed to King Ling's tomb in a hurry. The shattering of Yiqing Luo's profound jade heart had already given him a shock. After that, Yiqing Luo suddenly activated the mechanism and disappeared from the bottom of the tomb. On the other side of the wall where she disappeared, there were no traces of any mechanism. This made Dmo Xian completely flustered. Because no one knew better than him exactly what was sealed within the Ling King's tomb. Based on Yiqing Luo's current ability, it was impossible to open the seal, nor was she able to control the sealed object. Ling King's tomb was summoning Yiqing Luo down, and if she was not careful, Yiqing Luo would die in the sealed grounds. Luckily, his little Luoer was smart enough not to alert the enemy. She was smart enough to stand in the dark and not be tempted by the sealed land to advance rashly. No one knew how anxious and terrified he was when he saw Yiqing Luo disappeared. That was the panic of losing Lil Luo. He was so terrified that his entire body was trembling, and all the blood in his body froze. In his memory, Dmo Xian had never tasted such a feeling. But today, on Yiqing Luo's body, it allowed him to thoroughly experience this feeling. In his ears, he vaguely recalled a very, very long time ago, a person he had almost forgotten, as he roared with all his might, Dmo Xian. You are a cold-blooded monster. You don't have a heart, you don't know what emotions are. No heart, huh? Dmo Xian lowered his head as his slender fingers gently covered his chest. Ah, Xian, why are you still outside? The girl's clear and sweet voice came from the sealed area. As the white light lingered, the girl's stunning face appeared. That pair of watery and translucent eyes reflected his figure. Dmo Xian responded softly and started walking towards her. He reached out and pulled her into his embrace. The young girl's arms wrapped tightly around his waist. Her soft and tender body warmed his body and mind. Bang, bang, Dmo Xian could clearly hear the sound coming from his chest. His palms, which were still on his chest, pounded against him, wave after wave. Dmo Xian couldn't help but laugh, his rosy lips lightly curled into a faint arc. This girl was his heart. After the two of them stepped into the sealed area, they were surrounded by an illusory space. He was right. It was space. They were no longer surrounded by rock walls or tunnels. But it was a vast expanse of whiteness, nothing could be seen clearly. The sealed area is formed from 3,000 spaces, but the real sealed space is only one. Dmo Xian read the astonishment and puzzlement in Yiqing Luo's eyes as he opened his mouth to explain. Yiqing Luo blinked. The meaning was... Chapter 871. No wonder when they stepped into the sealed grounds, they didn't see the protector and black-robed old man. Which space did the both of them go to? Follow me properly, there are many distorted spaces in the 3,000 spaces, and if you're swept into other spaces, your life might be in danger. Dmo Xian held Yiqing Luo's slender waist tightly as he casually walked forward. Yiqing Luo raised her head suspiciously as she looked at the man with a serious expression. Was it really that scary and he was still so casual? Could it be that he had come up with such a rotten idea to take advantage of her in broad daylight? If I want to do anything to you, do I need to think of an excuse? Dmo Xian's slender fingers clasped Yiqing Luo's lower jaw as he lowered his head and covered her lips. A gentle aura enveloped her nostrils. Was he a roundworm in her heart? Why was it that Dmo Xian could guess everything she was thinking about? Yiqing Luo's face flushed red from the kiss as she hammered his chest with both hands. Can you pay attention to the occasion? Didn't you say there are distorted spaces? Leaving her swollen pink lips, Dmo Xian was like a cat who had successfully stolen a fish as he licked his lips contentedly, as though he wasn't satisfied yet. Then let's continue after we leave the sealed grounds. Yiqing Luo's cheeks flushed red as she spat lightly. I can't be bothered to play with you. The dark forces have already entered the space for a long time, and if they find the correct sealed space first, that sealed item will be taken away by the dark forces. Dmo Xian stopped there and didn't continue to tease Yiqing Luo. The current situation was indeed not suitable for flirting. Dmo Xian seemed to be extremely familiar with the 3,000 spaces as he held Yiqing Luo's little hand as they shuttled through the 3,000 spaces. Along the way, they were unobstructed. They didn't meet any distorted space. Only, the deeper they went, the more Yiqing Luo could clearly feel that there was an extremely oppressive feeling which made her unable to breathe. She wanted to open her mouth to ask Dmo Xian. But she saw Dmo Xian's calm expression, but his eyes were extremely grave as he looked ahead as his handsome brows creased slightly. Apparently, after crossing countless spaces and entering deeper into the space, he was starting to find it strenuous. All her words were deflated. Yiqing Luo forcefully suppressed this extremely uncomfortable feeling as she quickened her pace. Although Yiqing Luo couldn't sense the existence of the 3,000 worlds, but she could clearly sense the strange power lingering around her. That force seemed to be attracting her, as if it was summoning her. Another summoning. Previously, she had been summoned by his profound jade heart. But now, what was summoning him? This thought had just flashed in her mind when Yiqing Luo's footsteps suddenly halted. His eyes suddenly fixed on a certain place. And Dmo Xian, who was leading the way calmly in front, also stopped his footsteps because of Yiqing Luo. Ah, Xian, there's something here. Yiqing Luo's slender fingers pointed towards a direction where the white mist was curling upwards. Just as she finished her words, the surrounding white fog, like a tornado, rapidly gathered in front of Yiqing Luo. Immediately after, under the white fog, it seemed as though a huge hole had been torn open, as it opened its bloody mouth, trying to swallow Yiqing Luo in one mouthful. Little Luo, be careful. Dmo Xian's long arm moved and Yiqing Luo staggered a few steps backwards. Following that, she saw a purple-robed figure, like a celestial being, or like a lightning, heading straight towards that hole which had been torn open. The purple robe fluttered as the golden edges of the sleeves rolled, looking extremely magnificent. Dmo Xian raised a palm wind as he fiercely chopped towards that hole, only to see that hole which had been opened up, instantly closed up. You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.